Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Pastor Jacob Swenson from St. John Lutheran Church and Trinity Lutheran Church here in Hillsboro and Hope, North Dakota. We are a dual parish of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Check us out at trinitystjohn.com. We'd love to hear from you. Find us on Facebook. Just search for us, and you'll find us. Thank you again to everyone who's been listening, who's been sticking around, particularly if you're coming back from our last session, which was kind of long, but also very important. We've been talking through the Large Catechism of Martin Luther, which you can find at book-of-concord.org. And last time we began talking about the sixth commandment, which is the commandment by which God protects the estate of holy matrimony. The sixth commandment, again, is you shall not commit adultery. And Luther writes that this commandment is aimed maybe peculiarly or specifically at the estate of marriage. He says that, first of all, we should esteem marriage because this estate was instituted by God, that marriage is a good and honorable thing. It exists both within the church and outside the church, that God created man and woman to live together in marriage. Now, what happened in the Middle Ages, and this was still common at Luther's time, was that men and women would enter into monastic life. Men would be monks, women would be nuns, and they would take vows of chastity. And Luther himself was formerly an Augustinian monk. You might know that. But he, of course, then married eventually. It took him a while. He was older when he got married, but he did get married, and that was because, as Luther has said in the last time, that not only is marriage instituted by God, it's something awesome that we should value, marriage is also necessary because it is impossible to live a sexually pure and decent life apart from marriage. Now, there are few exceptions. There are some, by a special gift of God, are able to live chaste lives. St. Paul would be a biblical example of this, where he says, I wish that all people could be like me, but the fact is that's not true. Not everybody is. And so he says, rather than burn in lust, we should get married. So Luther kind of did as he normally does. In our last couple paragraphs together, he takes a turn toward the monastics who take these vows of chastity, and the result is that either they're openly engaged in prostitution and other sorts of unchaste living, which was seen by Luther in his trip to Rome, or they are secretly burning with lust. And Luther basically says the things that the monastics do in secret are shameful even to talk about. In fact, we know too much about it already. And he kind of just stops there. Now, this was 500 years ago. Okay, we're going to pick up in paragraph 217. We're going to finish the sixth commandment and move on to the seventh. Paragraph 217. Luther writes, "Now I speak of this in order that the young may be guided so that they desire the married estate and know that it is a blessed estate and pleases God. For in this way, over time, we might cause married life to be restored to honor. There might be less of the filthy, loose, disorderly ends that now run riot the world over, and open prostitution and other shameful vices arising from disregard for married life. Therefore, it is the duty of parents and the government to see to it that our youth are brought up with discipline and respectability. When they have become mature, parents and government should provide for them to marry in the fear of God and honorably. God would not fail to add his blessing and grace, so that people would have joy and happiness from marriage. Let me now say in conclusion what this commandment demands. Everyone should live chaste in thought, word, and deed in his condition, that is, especially in the state of marriage, But also everyone should love and value the spouse God gave to him. For where marriage chastity is to be maintained, man and wife must by all means live together in love and harmony. Then one may cherish the other from the heart and with complete faithfulness. For harmony is one of the principal points that enkindles love and desire for chastity, so that where this is found, chastity will follow without any command. Therefore, St. Paul diligently encourages husband and wife to love and honor one another. Here you have again precious, indeed, many and great good works. You can joyfully boast about them against all churchly estates chosen without God's word and commandment. So again, Luther brings up the idea that a man and wife who are married, who are living in harmony with each other, who are finding delight in each other, are more righteous than the monastics who take vows of chastity, which is not commanded by God. Here ends the sixth commandment. Now we'll start the seventh commandment in paragraph 222. You shall not steal. After the commandment about you personally and your spouse, next comes the commandment about temporal property. God also wants property protected. He has commanded that no one shall take away from or diminish his neighbor's possessions. For to steal is nothing else than to get possession of another's property wrongfully. Briefly, this includes all kinds of advantage in all sorts of trade to the disadvantage of our neighbor. Now this is indeed quite a widespread and common vice, but it is so little considered and noticed that it surpasses all measure. So if all thieves who did not want to be known as thieves were to be hanged on gallows, the world would soon be devastated. There would be a lack both of executioners and gallows. For as we have just said, to steal means not only emptying our neighbor's money box and pockets, it also means grasping property in the market, in all stores, booths, wine and beer cellars, workshops, and in short, wherever there is trading or talking and giving of money, trading or taking and giving of money for merchandise or labor. Let me explain this somewhat plainly for the common people, that it may be seen how godly we are. For example, consider a manservant or maidservant who does not serve faithfully in the house, does damage or allows damage to be done when it could be prevented. He ruins and neglects the goods entrusted to him by laziness, idleness, or hate, to the spite and sorrow of master and mistress. In whatever way this can be done purposely, I'm not talking about what happens by mistake and against one's will. You can, in a year, steal 30 or 40 florins. If another servant had taken that much money secretly or carried it away, he would be hanged with the rope. But here you, while conscious of such a great theft, may even express defiance and become rude, and no one dare call you a thief. I say the same also about mechanics, workmen, and day laborers. They all follow their evil thoughts and never know enough ways to overcharge people while they are lazy and unfaithful in their work. All these are far worse than burglars, whom we can guard against with locks and bolts, and if caught can be treated in such a way that they will not commit the crime again. But against unfaithful workers no one can guard. No one even dares to give them an angry look or accuse them of theft. One would rather lose 10 times as much money from his purse. But here are my neighbors, good friends, my own servants, from whom I expect every faithful and diligent service, yet they cheat me most of all. Furthermore, in the market and in common trade also this practice is in full swing and force to the greatest extent. There one openly cheats another with bad merchandise, false measures, weights, and coins, and by nimbleness and strange finances. Or he takes advantage of him with clever tricks. Likewise, one overcharges another in a trade and greedily drives a hard bargain, skins and distresses him. Who can repeat or think of all these acts? To sum up, this is the most common trade and the largest union on earth. If we consider the world through all conditions of life, it is nothing but a vast, wide sales booth full of great thieves. Therefore, some are also called swivel chair robbers, land and highway robbers, not picklocks and burglars. For they snatch away easy money, but they sit on a chair at home and are styled great noblemen and honorable pious citizens. They rob and steal in a way assumed to be good. Yes, here we might be silent about the petty individual thieves if we were to attack the great, powerful arch-thieves with whom lords and princes keep company. These thieves daily plunder not only a city or two, but all of Germany. Indeed, where should we place the head and supreme protector of all thieves, the holy chair at Rome with all its train of attendants, which has grabbed by theft the wealth of all the world and holds it to this day? This is, in short, the way of the world. Whoever can steal and rob openly goes free and secure, unmolested by anyone, and even demands that he be honored. Meanwhile, the little burglars, who have once trespassed, must bear the shame and punishment to make the former thieves appear godly and honorable. But let such open thieves know that in God's sight they are the greatest thieves. He will punish them as they are worthy and deserve. Now, that kind of felt like a long rant. What Luther's saying is that we have two classes of thieves. Those who are openly known as thieves. Thieves and burglars and robbers and such that we can catch and throw in prison or punish by other means. But then there are the thieves that nobody talks about. First of all, ourselves when we're lazy workers, right? So for 6 years I worked at Target. I worked on the clock, and there's probably some of you who work on the clock, and there's always that temptation to waste time on the clock. I've seen it, you've seen it, I've done it, you may have done it. And Luther says that is nothing else than breaking the seventh commandment, when we as workers are unfaithful in our vocations. And he says when you add up all the time that is wasted or all the negligence that is taken in our work, you add that up over a year, and that could be a lot of money wasted. And he says, if somebody were to steal that money openly, steal those coins or whatever, that person would obviously be punished, but we do it in secret and we do just as much damage. And he says, and this is the way of the world, that everyone is out to cheat their neighbor, whether it's by marking up prices, driving hard bargains that are beyond what is necessary. And Luther then takes a turn towards the Roman Curia, the papal office, which at the time and still today is both it's both a head of the church and the head of state. That's another topic that we'll talk about way down the line. But Luther says the seventh commandment isn't talking about just open stealing, but even the hidden stealing that we do by wasting time, by driving up prices, and all these sorts of things. We're going to end here for today, and we'll pick up tomorrow. We'll continue on in the seventh commandment for a little bit yet. I don't think we'll finish it tomorrow, but maybe we will. Anyway, we'll continue with the seventh commandment tomorrow, and then on with the eighth commandment. Take care.